They told us the story was over. Textbooks wrote their obituaries, museums put up skeletons, and we moved on, believing these creatures were gone forever. Yet the whispers remain, of calls echoing through swamps, shapes vanishing beneath the waves, and eyes watching from deep within forgotten forests. Officially, these animals are extinct. Unofficially, their files are still open. Today, we'll uncover 7 extinct animals that might still be alive. Because maybe extinction isn't the end. Maybe it's just a story we told ourselves. Number 7. Coelacanth. The 7th creature on our list today is what paleontologists call the living fossil. For more than 66 million years, the coelacanth name appeared only in fossil records as a strange, lobe-finned fish with jointed limbs. Scientists believed it had gone extinct alongside the dinosaurs, and textbooks confidently declared it a relic of the past. Then came December 1938. Near the mouth of the Shalumna River, close to East London, a fisherman pulled up his nets and discovered a bizarre blue fish, unlike anything he had seen before. It was nearly 2 meters long, weighed around 90 kilograms, and shimmered with metallic iridescent blue scales. Then, in 1952, another coelacanth population was discovered near the Comoros Islands, between Madagascar and Mozambique. Some people even argue that the coelacanth we found in the 1990s weren't really the ones that went extinct. Instead, they are an evolved version of the old coelacanth. Today, the coelacanth survives in steep volcanic caves as deep as 700 meters underwater, living in the twilight zone of the ocean. Scientists now use submersibles to study them, but their rarity and depth make them elusive. Only a handful have ever been filmed alive in their natural habitat. Number 6. Tree lobster. Sometimes extinction doesn't come from meteors or climate shifts. Sometimes it comes from rats. The Lord Howe Island stick insect, also called the tree lobster, once lived on a small volcanic island in the Tasman Sea, off the coast of Australia. These insects were giants among their kind, growing up to 15 centimeters long, glossy black or dark brown, and so large and heavy that people mistook them for crustaceans. But in 1918, everything changed. A supply ship ran aground on the island, and with it came black rats. Within just a few years, the voracious rodents devoured nearly every stick insect on the island. By the 1920s, the species was officially declared extinct. Scientists mourned it as another casualty of invasive species, but people on the internet had a hilarious take on this rat and tree lobster battle. Decades passed. The tree lobster lived only in specimens preserved in jars of alcohol in museums. Then, in 1964, climbers scaling Ball's Pyramid, a jagged, needle-like volcanic remnant rising 562 meters out of the Pacific Ocean near Lord Howe Island. They reported finding strange insect droppings, but no one believed the insects could have survived on that barren rock. It wasn't until 2001 that 2 Australian scientists, Nicholas Carlisle and David Priddle, made a nighttime expedition up the sheer cliffs of Ball's Pyramid. There, clinging to a few lone melaleuca bushes, they found what the world thought was gone. A tiny surviving colony of 24 stick insects. The rediscovery made headlines worldwide. And since then, captive breeding programs in Australia and zoos worldwide have worked to bring the tree lobster back from the brink. Number 5. Silverbacked Chevrotain. Number 5 in this list is an animal straight out of a storybook. Part rabbit, part deer. It's a delicate creature that moves on thin legs and stares with wide, dark eyes. No bigger than a rabbit and weighing less than 5 kilograms, it once roamed the dense lowland forests of Vietnam, feeding on leaves and fallen fruits while staying hidden from predators. For years, it was thought to be extinct. After the 1990s, the forests of Vietnam fell silent. No sightings, no tracks. The forests grew quieter, and scientists feared the worst. Habitat destruction and hunting had likely driven the silverback Chevrotain into extinction. But in 2019, the impossible happened. A team of conservationists from the Global Wildlife Conservation Group set up camera traps in southern Vietnam, hoping against hope to capture proof of its survival. Days later, the cameras revealed something astonishing: grainy footage of a living silverback Chevrotain stepping delicately through the undergrowth. It was the first proof in nearly 30 years that the species still survived. The world celebrated its return, calling it the lost mouse deer. Since then, researchers have been working to locate and protect the tiny surviving population. Number 4. New Guinea Singing Dog. High in the misty mountains of Papua New Guinea, locals spoke of a haunting sound, a howl unlike that of any wolf or dog. It rose and fell like music, eerie and beautiful, almost like a chorus echoing through the valleys. This was the voice of the New Guinea Singing Dog. These wild canines were small, about the size of a fox, with golden coats and sharp, intelligent eyes. But what made them unique was their vocal range, a howl so complex it's been compared to the song of a humpback whale. As per one Redditor, they don't howl like wolves and they don't bark like dogs, they sing. It's basically a high-pitched howl that can totally sound like a human. That was also the reason they were thought to be extinct, because besides no one seeing them for a long time, no one heard their singing either. For decades, no one heard them. By the 1970s, the singing dog was considered extinct in the wild. Only a few lived on in captivity, and many started believing that the mountain howls were nothing more than folklore. But that changed in 2016, when scientists mounted an expedition into the remote highlands of Papua, Indonesia. There, in a rugged area nearly 3,500 meters above sea level, camera traps recorded something extraordinary: a wild population of New Guinea singing dogs, alive and thriving. Their DNA later confirmed that this was the same species once thought to be lost. Today, the singing dog remains as one of the rarest wild canines on Earth. Conservationists estimate only a few hundred exist, most still hidden in the inaccessible mountains. Number 3. Takahē. Number 3 on this list is a bird that should not exist. In the late 1800s, the Takahē was one of New Zealand's most extraordinary birds, a giant, flightless relative of the rail family, with deep blue and green plumage, powerful red legs, and a huge crimson beak. It could weigh up to 3 kilograms and stood nearly half a meter tall. But it had a weakness. The Takahē never learned to fly. For thousands of years, that didn't matter. New Zealand had no native land mammals to hunt it. But when humans arrived, everything changed. Maori hunters used snares and dogs, while later European settlers brought predators like stoats, ferrets, and cats. As grassland shrank and grazing sheep competed for food, the Takahē world collapsed. By 1898, scientists declared it extinct. The last confirmed specimen had been shot in the South Island and preserved in a museum. For 50 years, the bird survived only in taxidermy displays and faded illustrations. Then came the year 1948. A Southland doctor named Jeffrey Orbell had grown up hearing whispers from old hunters about strange, large birds deep in Fiordland's mountains. Convinced the Takahē still lived, he organized an expedition into the remote Murchison Mountains. After days of brutal trekking through bogs and snowgrass, the team finally saw movement. Out of the mist stepped a bird thought to be gone forever, a living Takahē calmly feeding on alpine plants. But survival wasn't guaranteed. Takahē populations were tiny and fragile. In the 1980s, there were fewer than 120 left in the wild. Conservationists launched emergency programs, predator control, protected reserves, and captive breeding. Slowly, the numbers began to climb. Today, thanks to decades of work, the population has reached about 500 birds, still critically endangered, but alive. Number 2. Mammoth. If you've seen Ice Age, you must remember Manny, the giant shaggy mammoth with long curved tusks. But Manny wasn't just a cartoon. He was based on a real creature that once thundered across the frozen earth. The woolly mammoth stood over 3 meters tall, weighed as much as 6 tons, and carried tusks so long they could grow to 4 meters in length. Covered in thick, shaggy hair and insulated by layers of fat, it was perfectly built for the Ice Age. These giants roamed across Europe, Asia, and North America in vast herds, shaping the lives of early humans who hunted them for food, fur, and bone. Then, around 4,000 years ago, they vanished. Most scientists believe a deadly combination of climate change at the end of the Ice Age and overhunting by humans pushed the mammoth into extinction. The very last population survived on Wrangel Island in the Arctic, living in isolation for centuries before finally disappearing. But the mammoth never completely left us. In the frozen tundra of Siberia, their bodies have been discovered almost intact. Skin, hair, even blood preserved in ice. And now, science is doing the unthinkable with those remains. Using DNA from frozen remains, researchers are working on cloning projects and gene editing, splicing mammoth DNA with Asian elephants. The goal is not just to bring the mammoth back, but to create a cold-adapted hybrid that could one day roam the tundra again. When asked about the chances of science successfully bringing the mammoth back to life, most people respond that they are high. Some researchers even argue that reintroducing mammoths could help fight climate change by restoring ancient grassland ecosystems. Number 1. Moa. If you thought the Takahē was the only flightless bird New Zealand lost, you're wrong. There was once something far bigger. The moa was a true giant, the tallest bird that ever lived. Some species stood over 12 feet high and weighed more than 500 pounds, towering over people and grazing leaves from trees like living giraffes. For centuries, the moa thrived in New Zealand's forests and valleys, but when the Maori arrived, the bird had no defense. Hunted for its meat, skin, and feathers, and with eggs raided from nests, the moa population collapsed. By the 1400s, just a few hundred years after humans first reached the islands, the moa was gone. One of history's fastest human-driven extinctions. And yet, stories of the moa never really died. In the 1800s, explorers claimed to find giant bird tracks in remote valleys. Local legends spoke of enormous feathered figures haunting mountain ranges, their heavy footsteps echoing at night. Even in the 20th century, scattered reports of massive footprints and strange sightings kept the mystery alive. Scientists have pieced together much of the moa's life from bones, eggshells, and even preserved stomach contents showing the plants it ate. Officially, it is extinct, but New Zealand's wilderness still holds vast untouched places. And that's a wrap on 7 extinct animals that might still be alive. If you're fascinated by mysteries like these, stay tuned. We've got whole series exploring myths, legends, and forgotten creatures from around the world, from global monsters to regional folklore you've never heard of. Trust me, it only gets stranger from here.